Welcome to the first STUUR video. It will be one of many to come. We are the Student Union of Rotterdam, and if you're a student, we are fighting for you. Whether it be asshole landlord, strange-haired politician, or prices on campus. The purpose of these videos is to elaborate on issues such as housing, organizing, and, since shit has surely hit the fan, today we will try and find out what is going on with the... I think it is safe to assume that most of you know the budget cuts are happening, but the question of why and to what effect is still largely unclear. This is true for universities as well. We all know that 1.3 billion will be taken away from education, but the way in which this is to take form is a prime source of confusion, worries, and fear. The attack on universities is something we see not only in the Netherlands, we see it in the United States, our neighboring, and many other European countries. Historically, attacks on the university have always had a political motive, came mostly along the currents of nationalism, and well, I suppose that will all become clearer a bit later. Because of the FNV, the National Workers' Union, we have learned that educators and staff are terribly worried about the consequences this might all bring. The majority expects the quality of education to decline, and so will research. As the Royal Institute for the Sciences has pointed out, they are terribly worried about any further curtailment of the open science system. This institute is, of course, royal, so I will soon explain why they so awkwardly use all these words. So what exactly is the intent of the budget cuts, and where does the money offered to universities go instead? Well, the norm imposed by NATO, for one, may indicate something about the military-industrial complex, but that will perhaps be the topic of another video. There are, however, two elements we think are of crucial concern. This will take a little while, but please hold on. The law internationalization imbalance proposed by the central government may offer some hints. It was intended to retain Dutch as an academic language and was portrayed to be economically necessary. Now, the language argument may not seem too big of a deal, but how true is it that we are losing Dutch? The universities that will be most affected by the law are the Randstad universities. Even though they have more international students, the universities outside of the Randstad offer a higher percentage of English courses. In total, 80% of all programs are still in Dutch. Since most English programs are economical in nature, this 20% becomes even less. Especially so if you consider that EUR has already announced that, to compensate the budget cuts, they will work more closely with the consultancy industry. In other words, the discipline of economy uses English already as a language generally. Alright, so that's one down. The Dutch language is in no way threatened. You would think this was the worst argument out of the two, but it will get worse. For now comes the economic argument. A research paper by SEO has shown that cutting down on international students will decrease GDP, so the people's money, by 4 to 5 billion euros. This is much more than the 112 million euros the central government is expected to cash. The report shows quite clearly, and I apologize, but the intent is to show that even neoliberalists could see how stupid this move is, that international students create value in society. Additionally, they are much more likely to stay, and over the past year, the influx has no longer grown. Companies have already announced they will leave if these measures are pushed through. Universities will have to fire English-speaking staff, and there is a very, very small chance universities will turn out better. And let's not forget, it should not be about money that we talk about here, but people. As the Royal Institute said, it is, after all, our open science system that guarantees the quality of our universities. So, as promised, what does the Royal Institute mean with this curtailment of the open science system? It means that it does not want populist politicians too stupid to write proper laws to scapegoat and suppress international students. It means that it is worried that nationalists may have turned international students into the academic version of unwanted immigrants. Telling universities you will take their money at the same time you are telling them to retain Dutch, is that not a clear instruction? Nationalism is on the rise, and internationals are being blamed. It is of prime importance that we do not let this happen, let alone when we and our fellow students are the ones who are being targeted, instead of the government taking responsibility for its own misdoings. So, what are we to do? On December 9th, students and educators coming from all throughout the Netherlands will assemble in Amsterdam. There we will show that we will take a stance and that we won't go down without a fight. The protest held by the national and student unions last year made sure that instead of the 2 million in cuts that was planned, this was reduced by 750 million. This, however, is not enough. So, we ask you to continue to raise this issue, to fight for fair treatment, and to join us on December 9th to fight for our universities and for our fellow students. The larger we are in number, the stronger we are. If you want more information or are curious about what you can do, please visit the website of STUUR and check out the Instagram. We also have organizational meetings every week. You're free to join and we'd be happy to have you on the same team. Additionally, you can also become a member of STUUR by just €9 a year. Unlike Spotify, we do not charge monthly and we also do not support the IDF. So I'd say that's a pretty good deal.